So pit, oh yeah, yins are crazy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of YINZERITAS, brought to you by Yins Are Crazy. I'm joined today by one of my lovely co-hosts, Lexi, and I, of course, am Taylor. And today we have the pleasure of meeting with Jeff Reed, who, of course, is a super colorful and fun character. You know, everybody in the city of Pittsburgh loved him when he played here and continued to love him even after he left. So, Lexi, is there anything that you'd like to talk about today in particular with Jeff?
I mean, a lot comes to mind, and I don't even know if half of it's football related when it comes to Jeff, because growing up in the city and being around during the Super Bowl wins with Jeff, he went a little hard after the wins, and it's just fun. It's fun to talk about. I would love to hear some of his stories as far as his time out in Pittsburgh. He obviously was a huge component to that team. He is going to go down as one of the greatest kickers, I think, in the NFL, just with his consistency. And I would love to know how Heinz Field compares to kicking in other stadiums, because at the time it was the open end zone back when he played. And
Right.
I would love to know, is it really true, or do we just give it more of like, oh, it's so hard kicking in that open end zone? I would love to know what his thoughts of it were. But we can get into that and a little bit about what he's up to now.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. You know, he's super quirky and fun, and I know, like, a bit of a party animal. I read so many things about his history, like even at training camp, if they didn't have a rookie to, mess around with, he would kind of just go along with it for the sake of tradition and, take
Yeah.
that role almost. So he's
Yeah.
pretty interesting person. And like you said, a legendary kicker, not just for us, but for the NFL. So it'll be great to hear his perspective on things.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I can't wait for him to join us, which is going to be very shortly.
Here's the man himself, Jeff Reed.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You look tan.
Yeah, I had a pool day yesterday. It was nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. I got sunburned by the pool yesterday.
Yeah, I got toasted when I went to the beach, but now it's all tan. But it was bad for a minute.
Well, there you go. Welcome to YINZERITAS. Just to get us started, I'm Taylor and this is Lexi. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are very excited to talk to you about a couple different things. I guess to get us started a little bit, would you want to tell us about kind of where you're at right now and what you've been up to?
Well, straight out of college, I didn't never assume I was going to play in NFL. Of course, that's a dream and a goal, but it actually worked out for me. Within the first year out of college. So then that was the next 10 years of my life, and then 3 years after that, I was trying to get another opportunity, and never really worked out. So after that, you kind of like, okay, what's next? I mean, you've won 2 Super Bowls, you've lived a dream. Usually you have to work your way from college to living your dream. You don't really, you're a very small percentage of people get an opportunity to play a sport at such a high level. So, if it was a while there, I didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up getting in the car business for a little while, running the finance department at a huge dealership. I'm glad I learned the business, but it was tough, very tough business. You work a lot of hours, and you don't have much of a life outside of work. And then I got out of that in late December of 17, and ended up trying to figure out what was next after that. And in the process, I broke my back in 2019. So that wasn't good.
How'd you do that?
It's working out, nothing. I don't do anything too crazy, but I was just, when you get tired, you tend to do things without focusing on an exercise. And that's what happened, and broke my L5. So it had slid all the way towards my stomach. So that wasn't a good feeling, but I have my pains here and there, but it's at least 3/4 of the way back into my, with my spine, level with my spine. So, and then now, I'm trying to get my thoughts together and see what's next. And, it's constantly like that in life. I am part of an ownership team of an arena football team in Charlotte, North Carolina. called the Charlotte
Okay.
Thunder. Two former players
Hmm.
from the Panthers, and then two local businessmen and myself. So we're 10-0, and we play in the championship game on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And I bet, I mean, along with that, it's great to hear that you're recovering well and everything. Out of curiosity, have you been following the Steelers still in this time? I'm sure you're very busy based on everything you've told us, but
Yeah, the only guy I know on the team, besides meeting some of them, actually played with is Ben. But Pouncey retired and Ramon Foster retired. Those are the guys I played with, and so I mean, obviously, I know Coach Tomlin, I know over, but totally different team. Totally different era in football, and obviously with the craziness of COVID last year, I changed a lot of things as well. So yeah, I follow them to answer your question. I always, and if for some reason on a Sunday or Monday or Thursday, whenever they're playing, if I'm not at home and not watching it, I do check the scores just because it's interesting stuff to me. I do love the game, but I always know when the kicker misses because my phone blows up. It's like, all right, you need to get out there and do it again. I'm like, man, leave him alone.
Aw.
But so yes, I was born in Kansas City, so I'm a diehard Chiefs fan growing
Mhm.
up. So those are the two teams I follow, and of course we have the Carolina Panthers here in Charlotte. So I mean that's all you hear about here. But other than that, I follow it. I love the game, so I'll always be a fan.
So is that where you are right now? Like your home base is Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's like my third favorite city. It's
Is
pretty
it?
up. It is. It's up
What are your
there.
first two?
Pittsburgh's my first, and then
Oh,
Nashville's
okay,
second.
Nashville. Yeah,
So yeah, I'm
yeah,
there a
yeah.
lot.
Can't. Yeah, Nashville's fun. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, North Carolina's nice. This time of year it gets a little humid, but you get all four seasons. You
Yeah.
see the sunshine a lot. Um, and the mountains are 2 hours away. The beach is 3 hours
Hmm.
away. We have a lake 30 minutes from me, so a huge lake that's like the
Lake
beach. So
Norman.
Lake Norman, that's correct.
Yeah.
And
I
Lake
know.
Wiley's not far either. So
That's awesome. Well, a little bit, let's rewind a little bit prior to just switching to football full time. You were a soccer player. And
yeah.
how does that transition happen as far as like mentally, if not physically, going from soccer into football?
Well, I was I mean, the form of kicking a football that most people kick now is called soccer style, because you come from an angle. You don't kick the ball straight on. Now there are some people that can still kick straight on. You have to have a special shoe for that, but we call those guys dinosaur kickers. That's actually a very hard talent. But if you hit the ball consistently right, kicking straight on is really good. I mean, I never mastered that because I have a soccer background, but uh, it's tough because you can put spin on a soccer ball, you can volley it, you can do a half volley, all kind of stuff with a soccer ball, kick it with inside and outside of your foot. But when it comes to football, there's not one way to kick, because I coach kickers now, and I would never
Hmm.
say there's one way to kick because that's wrong. Just like telling a quarterback there's one way to throw, that's not true either. But
Hmm.
there is one sweet spot, and you cannot kick a football because of its odd shape, like a soccer ball, to get it to go straight. So the biggest transition was, well, obviously in high school you can kick off of a block too, so you don't kick off the ground. That's a huge transition as well, transitioning to kicking off the ground. So the biggest thing is you have to figure out what the sweet spot is, and you have to get your fundamentals down. And it doesn't matter how young or how old you are as a kicker, you can never master those, but they always goes back to fundamentals.
Yeah. I mean, I know, we were just talking about this very briefly before you came on. I would never want to be an NFL kicker. Like the pressure, the conditions, especially in Pittsburgh, it has to be one of the hardest things. And everyone, like, extra points are missed and all that stuff. But do you guys, like, I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
anybody truly realizes like what you guys are doing, even if it's only from 30 yards away. I said I could never do it, just in a mental state. I would never want to do it. And I have much respect
Yeah.
for I have the utmost respect for kickers.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, obviously you're not out there banging heads every play like the other guys. So that's where you get the terminology, and someone will just say, "Oh, you're just the kicker." Well, they don't quite get it. I mean, there's a lot
Mhm.
more to just being the kicker. It's besides being a defensive back, it's the most mental position on the and quarterback, the most mental position on the field. If it's not the number one most mental, because if you go out on the field, whether it's pregame warmups or practice or an actual game situation, and you have any kind of doubt in your mind, you will definitely miss, because your mind
Mhm.
is very powerful. So, and you can't throw a couple interceptions and then throw 3 touchdown passes. If you miss a kick in the first quarter and your team loses by 3, they're going to blame you. That's just the way it goes. So, but
Exactly.
that's yeah. So that's I mean, but until like when I used to do the fantasy camps up there, with the men and the women, and it's funny because they all have a whole new respect for kicking by the time they leave that camp, because anybody can run around, hit somebody. Most people can throw a ball. I wouldn't say be a quarterback, but most people can
Mhm.
throw a ball. But when you actually try kicking and you realize how hard it really is, and that's when the respect comes through.
Now, kicking at Heinz Field, back when you kicked with the open end zone, it's a little bit closed now. Is it really as legendarily hard as everyone says it is, where it's like, ooh, he's going into the open end zone, he's kicking in the open end zone, like watch out, watch out. What is that
Yeah, it was
like?
tricky. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, obviously they've closed that one end down a little bit, so
Mm-hmm.
probably a little bit less windy, but it's still straight off the water.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's a tricky place to kick. The weather's very interesting there. I mean, it can be 75 when you go to bed and you wake up, it's snowing. So,
Mm-hmm.
obviously that affects your quarterbacks and kickers, like Ben and I, and even Tommy Maddox and Cordell and I before Ben. We watched the news and the weather more than anyone the night before a game and the morning of the game.
Yeah.
Because it affects everyone, but it really affects the game plan. It certainly affects footing and different factors like that. No matter how good you are, if you're kicking in a 35, 40 mile an hour wind, it's going to be really tough, and you have to do stuff that you typically wouldn't do, like aim outside the uprights to make the kick. And if you cut through the wind, that's exactly where you aim, you miss. So little things like that. But it's just like in any sport. I mean, baseball or golf or any of those, you're going to have to, according to the weather, is how what kind of game you bring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's very interesting to think about too, because, excuse me, we know how much of an impact that you had on the team, and not just the team, but overall in football. I mean, you had the second highest all time, I think, number of points scored by a Steeler. How does it feel to have titles like that? And I mean, talking about before, we had the added pressure, but what's the silver lining, I guess?
It's cool. It's. I mean, I'm up there with Gary Anderson, who is obviously a Hall of Famer, and other guys that I played with that are on that same list. And I mean, you play the game. I mean, obviously, most people make good money. Well, all of them do, different salaries, of course. But if you're playing the game for money, then yes, that's cool and everything. But you should be playing the game to win. And winning, being on a winning team as I was for 9 years, for the most part, winning team, that's when accomplishments happen. So my name's up there at number 2, but really it's our team, the teams I played with and on, because without them, I don't get an opportunity. So it's just it's great. I mean, it's a really cool thing. Hopefully, I get into the Steelers Hall of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
That I know that I'm probably not a Hall of Fame kicker, according to their standards. But I would love to be in the Hall of Honor. It'd be an honor as well. But I won 2 Super Bowls, and I keep in touch with a lot of guys that I played with. And the best thing about the game of football, is the camaraderie and the fans, of course, and then the charity events and the little things that go unnoticed, are the biggest things I miss.
Absolutely. And that's such a beautiful sentiment, too. And you meant so much to all the fans, and speaking for all of us here in the city. Kind of part of that, I suppose, is just how much of a standout you were as a person, too. We were talking before you came on. You're kind of known for having some of those really fun, quirky, relatable aspects about you, whether it's, a unique hairstyle or a fashion choice. So maybe could you possibly describe to us kind of what inspires those choices and how you express yourself?
Well, I'm an eccentric person. I like to have fun. I don't like to hide and stay out of the public eye. I don't look for attention. I end up getting it because I'm having fun. People usually like to be around somebody that's laughing and having a good time. And I had Penguin season tickets. I would sit with the fans. I'm not hiding up in a box somewhere.
Mhm.
And some, I mean, during those games, you take 20 pictures or so, but it's not annoying. It's really cool. I mean, I go back to a couple Steelers games a year. Obviously, I didn't last year, but I will this year and the years previous. And it's kind of like I feel people make me feel as if I'm still playing. I know my body doesn't feel that way, but
Yeah.
you take pictures, you sign autographs, you sit with the people, you have a beer with the people. I mean, it's a cool feeling. Because now is the time when you can do that. I mean, when you're actually playing, of course you can go to a club or a bar or a restaurant and see people, but now it's kind of like I'm a fan too. And regardless of what I've done, I just have a different perspective. So that's the cool thing about going to Pittsburgh is you'll always be relevant until the day you die, and they will treat you. They will give you the keys to the city.
Absolutely. Is there a favorite memory you have being on the team or from the city in general from when you were playing?
Like I said, those charity events and times to give back is the reason the biggest things, when everyone asks you what your why is, it could be your family, it could be your kids, it can be a lot of things. But my why is a lot higher than the game of football. But what you learn from that game and what you do, like I don't need to be on TV to make somebody smile. For instance, I went, our team chiropractor was battling cancer when I was playing. And I went to surprise him because he was going through chemo and he was very miserable and, all the other great things about cancer. Right. And I go visit him in the, what is that? The Hillman? Is that what that is out there in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that cancer center out there near Pitt's campus. And
Yeah.
I walked in and, I'm not really looking at rooms and stuff because hospitals stress me out, but I've been there for 4 surgeries and that's plenty for me. And I walk down the hall and I hear a bunch of ruckus and noise. And I'm like, what is that? So of course I glance and these kids, unfortunately, battling cancer, are like jumping off their hospital beds. And so I told the nurses to the right, because all these rooms are on the left. I said, I don't know what's going on, but these kids are jumping off their beds. And, and I had the crazy blonde hair and all that stuff, but I wasn't thinking they were wanting to see me. So the nurse said, well, the reason they're doing that is because they see a Steeler and they want to meet you. And it took me an hour to get to my chiropractor because I was going in every room. So times like those are, nobody knows that story.
Mm-hmm.
I lived it unless you were there. The nurses do. My sister does. She was there. My chiropractor does. He was there, but nobody knows that story. It doesn't need to be known, but those are the times I missed.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, kicking a game-winning field goal in front of 60,000 people or however many Heinz Field seats is the coolest feeling in the world. But those are the things that go unnoticed a lot. That I don't need to be commended for doing stuff in the public eye. That's just what you're expected to do when so many people look up to you. So that's probably one of the best stories because you realize what your why is. Yeah, obviously God's using you're using one of God's talents in the highest level of football in the world, which is really cool in itself. But when you can do things like that, maybe prolong a life or two just by hugging someone or taking a picture, those are the reasons why I feel like I'm truly alive.
Wow. I mean, you don't hear about that as much as it's needed, especially now where it's all about the glitz and glam. That's what people are after and not the real things, like the things that are going on in life. But segueing into that, like, are you doing anything now in the charity world? I heard you have something called Kick for Kids.
Yeah, so that I did that when I was playing. Every field goal made, it was like $100 or $300 or something was donated to that charity.
Mm-hmm.
Since I have not been playing, I do not. Obviously, I don't do that. It's probably for whoever the current kicker is.
Yeah.
but I do, I'm the president of a charity here in locally here in Charlotte, and it's for single mothers and homeless pets. So just, I mean, I don't have my own charity because I support everything. There isn't just one thing that I want to focus on, and and it's also a lot of work. If you have your own charity, it is a lot of work, and you have to have the right people involved, or you won't fulfill the purpose of that charity. So, but I do stuff not as often as I'd like. But then again, it's not because of my choice. It's just I don't know about some stuff. That's just the way it goes. But yes, I'm in the community. Locally, I went to high school here, and then I went to Chapel Hill, which is 2 hours down the street. And being a Steeler, everywhere you go, doesn't matter what city you're in, you're recognized. And so there's a ton of Steelers fans here that I've become really close with. A couple people that run tailgates at every Steeler game, that go to every single game, home and away, in preseason, regular season, postseason. So, I stay involved with all them because those are the ways that you can give back without handing somebody money or all the material things people want.
Yeah, people, more times just your presence is enough. They don't need anything else. And I think that's incredible that you still do, or you're still so involved just physically. And I really appreciate that.
It is so
Yeah, absolutely.
that you use your platform for so much good. And in addition to that, it makes me wonder, I know that you did some hosting gigs in the past, like you were involved with talk shows and other, spots in the media. Is there anything that you're working on right now in that realm where you kind of get to, express yourself like we talked about earlier, or, just vent about everything that you're doing?
Well, I was doing actually a handful of things every other week before COVID hit. And obviously when that hit, shows got canceled. They're never coming back, some of them, or they're coming back now, but they're not allowed to have visitors in the studio and guests like that. So obviously it's all turned to Zoom things like we're doing now. So I was doing, and that was just sports talk and fun. It wasn't anything way too serious. It was a comedian that I was with. So obviously he was taking shots at me all the time for being a kicker, but I would always get him back as well. I mean, it was a fun show, but I want to do a documentary of my life at some point. I have the people. I just haven't said I'm just going to 100% do this, and so it hasn't happened. I'm a good writer, so I think a book would be good of all the realities leading up to the NFL and life in the NFL and life after the NFL, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned outside of, man, you hit some really good kicks. Yeah, that's cool. All that stuff, stats are great. But what did you make out of your experience is what people need to know, because not everything's great. People come from all directions at you. And luckily for me, my family's awesome, so nobody asked for a thing, even though I'd give them the world. But it's hard to date somebody because you don't know what their intentions are. I'm sure that I'm not speaking just for myself, but also, it's just life is not easy. And for those individuals that really think it's a blast, and for all the people that say, man, that guy's a CEO, he's a millionaire, those are the most unhappy people. It's hard to stay happy. It's hard to stay busy. So with the biggest thing that I use is I think something like documentary, a book, continuing to tell people my story. I've been on big stages. I do motivational speaking, and it's usually, unless somebody tells me exactly what to talk about, it's usually there's no index cards. Just tell my story, because you can learn so much just from my personal story. Because every time I tell it, I learn something new about myself. So, I still do that. And obviously this year things have picked back up. I get to go and do some appearances, and even probably in Germany, maybe during the season or next season, with some Steelers fan clubs and stuff. So that's picking back up now.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'll wait for your book. I'll be the first one in line.
Yeah, we're looking forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
well,
I need to take charge of that. No, it's fine. I said I need to take charge of that. I've talked about it for years. I haven't actually put my foot down and said I'm 100% do this.
Well, we know it'll probably be coming, so we'll keep a lookout for it. But
All
thank
right.
you so much for talking with us. Just to wrap up a little bit here, we just have maybe a couple rapid fire questions, just real quick,
Okay.
fun things that we like to do. So Taylor, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so we try to do this with everybody. Sorry if they're a little bit random. First thing that comes to your mind, if you had to pick a spirit animal, what would it be?
Oh man. I'll probably just stick with a dog just because that's man's best friend, and that's unconditional love. I tell you what, there's some humans out there that that everybody just, I wouldn't say hate because that's a tough word, but I say dislike.
Mm-hmm.
And something happens to your pet, man. I mean, it's instant tears.
Oh, tell
Sorry
me
about
about
that.
it. Oh, that's okay.
We're
We got you
both
back.
dog people, so
Tell
we
me
feel
about it. I got mine right here,
Yeah.
but I'm very specific with the dog. Now, anybody can come for me. I don't care. I say anything less than, no offense to Wally, Taylor, but anything less than 20 pounds is a cat.
I agree.
Like, my dog is a lab shepherd mix. She's a tank, and she is more well-behaved and lovable than like those little things. Like, nope, I'm out. Bigger the better.
Well, so you would probably make fun of me because I have a teacup Yorkie that's 6 pounds.
Do you really?
Wow.
Yeah, his name's Hercules.
Oh,
Oh,
I
what
love
an
it.
ironic name.
That's so fantastic. I've rarely met
Yeah.
anybody with a dog smaller than mine because I have a Chihuahua Japanese chin mix.
Oh yeah.
So I'm with you. He is a cat, but
No, I need a monster. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like.
I love Great Danes. And those dogs like that. Eventually, I'll probably get a Great Dane, but I know they live a shorter life, but
They
still they're
do. Yeah.
like mini ponies. Or yeah, they're cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, moving on. In your downtime, what is your go-to favorite drink?
Favorite drink? Like, what do you mean, alcohol or
Yeah. Yeah. We'll,
like
we'll go
just?
alcohol. We're from Pittsburgh, so yeah, let's go alcohol.
Yeah, that's why I kind of figured, but I didn't really know. I'm a Tito's guy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like too much sugary stuff, and I don't do dark liquor too much. I mean, it would be more of a Tito's, regular water, lemon and lime, kind of a refreshing kind of drink.
Yeah, that's usually my go-to as well. Or tequila. I do that.
Yeah, see, I just can't do that. I mean, I've done it before. I just that and Jaeger and that Fireball
Oh,
stuff.
no. I can't do dark. I
It
can't
just
do dark.
it's a whole new feeling for me. I can't do that unless it's like a birthday party and I just take whatever's in front of me.
I think that's more than fair. I'm not picky, wrap us up and everything. I guess our final question would be, do you have any tips for the team this year?
Well, there's 17 games, so the only tip I can give all of them is all you can do is the biggest thing they have to do is take care of their bodies. Obviously, it's a brutal sport. Obviously, there's going to be injuries. It's just life. It's life in any sport. Doesn't matter what sport you play. But what I learned, it took me a few years to learn it, and we played 16 games, but if you don't take care of your body, you'll never be able to perform 100%. That's just the bottom line. Because, and there's ways to do it, and you can still have fun, still go out, you can still eat what you want to at times, and but that's the biggest tip I could give anybody now. I mean, I coach some high school guys, and they just 100 miles an hour all the time. And I said, I know you're only 16, 17, 18, 15. I said, but your body is going to give up on you if you continue this pace. When you're getting your mid 20s, or if you get to college and you want to play, if you don't slow down a little bit and get quality reps over quantity, you're not going to amount to anything. So I tell that's what I tell these kids. I would tell NFL players or any other guys the same things. I mean, because if you don't have your body, you can't play that sport.
Oh yeah, I bet. I think now more than ever, that's probably true too. With COVID and everything, it can have, one effect or the other. You could be, raring and ready to go because you had some downtime and things were different, or you could, maybe not be in the same state of mind. So I think
Right,
that's
absolutely.
a piece of advice to give to the current team. And I think that I speak for Lexi and myself whenever I say we are so appreciative for everything that you've done for the city and the team in general. And it's been great to speak with you today. So thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ladies, for having me on. I mean, if you have my information, if you guys need anything as the season gets going or before the season when it gets closer, if you need anything from me, just let me know, and I'll do my best to do it for you guys.
All right, we appreciate that. And when you come in for a game, make sure you give us the heads up. We'll probably be around.
Yeah,
we'll be around there somewhere.
I'll definitely be there. I think it's the 26th of September, the Bengals game, whatever that day that is. There's about 15 people coming with me, so that should be pretty fun. But I'll definitely be there for that. I think there was one mid-October against the Seahawks that I should be at as well. Those are the two right now that I'm leaning towards.
Okay, great. Well, can't wait to see you. Hopefully, maybe we can have a drink together.
Maybe tailgate.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, we'll go over to my tailgate friends and we'll drink their stuff.
I know yins are crazy, but so am I. #1 sports site in the Berg, let me show you why. The latest stories in unbeatable podcast with your favorite athletes. You know you can't pause that. Super Bowl, World Series, Stanley Cup champs. Rising stars, Berg personalities for the fans. We love our city, always Pittsburgh proud. When you're at your job or while you got your cell phones out.